Welcome to Behind the Roast podcast. In this episode, we're going to dive into the world of food, lifestyle, and everything in between. I'm your host, Joseph, and today we have a special guest, Jerry, also known as Dairy X. Jerry is a renowned content creator with a passion for food reviews and growing interest in the coffee scene. Joining us as he explores his journey, insights, and the art of authentic content creation. Let's get started. Jerry, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Joe. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. I'm super excited because you wanted to be on the podcast and you're getting into the coffee space now all of a sudden. But I love your snack reviews and you have a huge following, especially on YouTube, which is almost up to 10,000 subscribers. And then you got TikTok and Instagram, which you're slowly, gradually picking up. But can you give us a general about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jerry Papandrea. I go by Dairy X on the interwebs. I generally talk about food and lifestyle, occasionally coffee. It's actually funny you mentioned that. I'm just getting into coffee now. When this started, it was 2010, and my very first blog post was actually a post about espresso. And then, evolving the content through the 2010s into the 2020s. 2020 was a weird year. Even during that time, I was doing a lot of coffee videos, generally like showing people how to make syrups and stuff like that. And then kind of evolved into, restaurant type of highlighting. And yeah, I do a lot of that type of content, a lot of man in the kitchen cooking videos, all different types of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love that you get your son involved too. Like your silly snack reviews. That's freaking hilarious. Like I love how you got all the different snacks from all different parts of the country and you're trying them out. And then your son's giving it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So how did this whole thing all evolve?
The silly snack reviews, it's funny. So my wife got me a chocolate bar from a local place one time, and I was kind of struggling with, finding what the right format for my videos was. I was doing a lot of long form and that was picking up steam, but that's kind of one of those things where, especially around 2020, people kind of have to get to know you, whereas shorts was just taking off in 2021. So I decided I was going to, instead of doing show you what it is and then taste it and then react to it, I put the reaction at the front of the video and then started essentially posting that. And that video instantly took off. So I said, you know what? I think I have here a format that actually is something interesting and something that takes me out of the local kind of thing. Because that's one thing on YouTube, very little interest is going to come from Albany, New York content, for what it's worth. So what that turned into is, I gave my son a piece of this chocolate and he gave kind of a mixed reaction to it. So I said, you know what? If I insert him in, he likes to be involved in the videos. And in that process, I think now I'm over 600 videos of those silly snack reviews. We post 2 weekly and you kind of watch him grow up. Like I posted a few weeks ago, him in the very first one. And, he's so much younger. He has a baby face. Now I've even started recording in 4K format so that I can use it for the shorts and also edit into the long form. So we have kind of a director's cut, which has a little bit more of his reaction. And he tries to ham it up with a little YouTuber, sass to it. So it's kind of fun.
So I seen you've been doing this for a long time. What is your biggest struggle when it comes to putting those video content into Instagram and on TikTok and how to get that growing and getting more people more engaged into that silly snack reviews and all the other kitchen home stuff that you do?
Yep. So in terms of struggle, I don't really see it as that serious where it's I'm really trying that hard. As far as where I focus, my focus is on making YouTube content, and I'm using Instagram and TikTok kind of as another container. A lot of times what you see happen is you'll post the same thing in multiple places and it'll have a different reaction depending on the audience in those different places. So I've had that with Instagram. I've had, little surges of growth here and there. I've had that with TikTok, little surges. But what I've found is in terms of just the focus, I try to focus as much as possible on YouTube content. And then I'll use Instagram for a little bit more of the spontaneous, I've been branching off into a little bit more of interest into movies and things like that, just because that's kind of more of an in the moment platform as far as that and TikTok. Whereas YouTube, I think, is a little bit more of an evergreen type thing where, the content kind of lives there and has lives beyond the first 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. For me, trying to focus more on the YouTube because I think YouTube, I get more engagement on YouTube and then Instagram, but TikTok is just hard. It's hard. And then you have to change your video format because each one is different. So on a video that I post on TikTok will get so many views, and then I'll get like 1,000 to like 2,000 views on YouTube, and then Instagram I'll get 2,000 depending on what the video format is, or probably sometimes even 5, 6, 7,000 views. So each one is different. You can't like you have to modify your content for each specific platform because it's different algorithms and different viewership, and it's just hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think a lot of it also has to do with the way that the content is served on those platforms. I think with YouTube, I think they do a really good job at defining what your core audience is and serving the videos within that core audience and then testing outside of it. Whereas I think I understand about the algorithms, I mean, this is all just knowledge over time, and I'm sure it evolves. But it seems like with those, just looking a little bit into the analytics, the demographics are completely random. And I think a lot of it has to do with the timing of when you release a video and who's on the platform. And I think it just surges it out to different things, and it'll die a lot quicker on TikTok or Instagram because of that. And I think YouTube just keeps the core audience the same and then branches out in little bursts, which I think helps the video find its audience a little bit better.
Yeah, and then I slowly progressing on YouTube, and it's just I'm trying to focus more and more because you get better monetization when it comes to YouTube than all the other platforms that I have dealt with, and that's what I want to try to focus more on the YouTube aspect of it. But
Yep.
like,
And if you were to ask me why my focus is on YouTube and not the others, it's because YouTube is the only one paying me a significant amount right now. When I say
oh, you get
significant, it's not like I'm making a living off of it. It's enough to keep the content going.
yeah, and like I only get paid through Facebook. That's the only content that I get paid for is Facebook, and it's very small, $5, $6 a month, if that.
So when Facebook came out with Reels, so Instagram had Reels for quite a while, then Facebook came out with Reels. Initially, what I noticed was they were paying out a lot more for the views on Reels, and they were pushing them out a lot more. And I was making a pretty decent amount in terms of just the effort going into the Facebook specifically. Whereas lately, like you said, it's a few dollars here and there. I think maybe once every other month I get a little bit of a payout. And it's kind of sad because it's like, people's attention is on these platforms. There's got to be a way to reward creators.
Yeah, there definitely is. I actually had a little meeting with Meta for creators, and I spoke with the guy, and he was talking about hooks, and he was talking about the algorithm and what they look for, and like how do they push the content. If you have less than 30% less, or 30 to 40% less on skip rate, your content, and you get more views, like at least the first 10 seconds, your content will boost. And
Hmm.
that's how they start sending it out. That's how like the algorithm works, that it sees that it feels like more people are more focused on that. So they start pushing it out to other people and then see how it goes. And then it goes through like different stages. And that's
Yep.
what he was explaining to me. He says, oh, you need to have a good hook and have this and all these other things. And I'm like, I don't care for hooks. Like, I want to be authentic. I just want to be myself, do what I want to do. And that's it. A hook is just a plain old silly thing. You're trying to grab them. But then next thing you know, you're bait and switching the people. A lot of some creators do that, like bait and switch, get a specific hook. And next thing you know, you look at the whole video and it's just trash. And you're like, how
Yep.
the hell did they get like all these views? Because you're baiting them to look at something.
So I completely understand what you're saying. There's a little nuance to it. I want to go into that, but I want to tell you one of my pet peeves lately. So, like I've said, I've been doing the food content in the area a long time. I've seen creators come and go in terms of just covering restaurants and stuff. One of the things that really irks me is, and they're all using the same hook. Is this the best blank in the capital region, or is this the best blank in whatever? Not everything is going to be the best, right? So like, I just know immediately when I see those videos that like this person is trying way too hard, listening to the advice that you're getting in terms of getting a hook and things like that. There is value into what they're saying, like the people that you're talking to, because I'm also in a YouTube Shorts cohort. I actually have a Shorts partner manager on YouTube that I actually interact with quite frequently just to understand the changes to the platform and where YouTube is focusing its attention. This way I could focus my attention in the same places. Think about it as a viewer. If what you're about to watch doesn't look interesting, why watch it? And from that, like, for me, I'm at the point where in this whole thing, 16 years in, where I'm just like you. I'm not going to go the extra effort to try to create the aura that something is more than what it is just to get people to stick around, right? I'm going to make sure that, if people are going to stick around, it's going to be because they vibe with me and because what they're about to see is interesting to them. So like if they don't want to stay past the first couple of sentences, goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then they would tell me you should copy other content creators. That was another thing. Look at other content creators and copy a little bit of their stuff, but make it in your mix. And I'm like, I don't want to copy all the ones because that doesn't make me authentic as a person, as a content creator. And the things too is like I get really annoyed, especially with food reviewers, where they go in and they don't put down that this was a paid, video.
Yep.
So like the person's giving you money to promote their business, but they don't put it on the video saying that you are paid for this. So are you giving an honest review or are you not?
Yep.
All my stuff, I don't get paid nothing. Maybe like a coffee shop will give me a free cup of coffee, but I told them flat out, I will pay for it. But if you want me to do the review, it's going to be an honest, true review. I
Yep.
don't care if it's free or if I'm getting paid for it. It's going to be true and honest. And I will put down that it's a paid thing. And that's the thing is like I know one specific content creator that gets paid every once in a while, or he does a lot of marketing and he just doesn't put down his paid and you don't know. And then
Yep.
he's like boosting it like galore. And that's the one thing I hate with especially with the Capital District with that stuff.
I can't knock people for having the hustle, but like you said, in terms of what I've done, the amount of meals that were paid or comped in exchange for content, I've declined probably 20 times more than I've actually taken, and I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've done it. I think most recently I got invited in last year to sample a few dishes at Toro Cantina. And I think they were doing this as a blast with a lot of local people. So what they said was, "Oh, we want to comp you a meal and then you can talk about us." I'm like, "Okay, but what's the story? What exactly are we trying to tell the people here?" Because yeah, like I appreciate it and I definitely want to come in and do that. And they're like, "Oh, you know what? We'll give you like 3 drinks. We'll give you like all this stuff." I'm like, "Thank you so much for wanting to do that, but like there's no story between everything you're trying to give me except you guys are rolling out a new menu and you're asking me to help you promote it. As a diner, what's special about this experience?" And we came up with kind of a concept in terms of things that were done table side. So instead of me going in there and, getting $300 worth of food for free just to talk about the restaurant, we kind of pared it down to just something a little bit more reasonable for like appetizer, dessert, and entree, where it's like, if somebody were to go in and have these table side things, this is the experience you would get. And this is kind of the story of the restaurant. So like, that's where it's like, yeah, you could see, like, I see it all the time. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I probably know who you're talking about. I'm not going to get into drama with people, but I've had my drama in the area. Yeah, I mean, you can see it from a mile away where it's like, this person is eating for free and probably also getting paid on top of it. And it just doesn't come across as authentic to me.
Yeah, and especially that they are getting like all this food and they're throwing it out in the video, and you're like, wow, this person's got like 4 or 5 different dishes all at once, so you're getting paid. And like that's the thing is like when people see a content creator like us, they see this person's doing this and they're thinking that this person's giving an honest review, but then they're not seeing the whole picture of this person is spending $300-400 to get 5 6 different dishes. Or is it really honest? No, because they're getting paid to do that.
Yep.
I would never ask a business myself to say, "Hey, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars for me to go over there to do a video review, and I'll throw in all social media just to boost you up." I would never do that. I
Yep.
I can't do that for a business because businesses are already struggling as it is, especially with high pricing and their margins are very thin, and they have to keep their business open. I would never charge a coffee shop or any restaurant, I'm going to come over there and do a video for 3, 4, or $500. It's not happening.
Yeah.
If you're going to comp it, that's a good thing. It's a small little thing, especially coffee. Coffee's like $8, $9. If you want to comp a thing of coffee, by all means, I'll do the review. That's
Yep.
all I ask, and it costs you $8 compared to $150 to $500 that another person's going to go in there. You know,
Yeah, like I understand completely what you're saying. I would just, just a little advice, be open minded to it because there is money to be made as a marketer and as a social media person because one day you're going to have a platform that is going to allow the like a business to actually take advantage of your reach and the thing because coffee shops like if they're just doing coffee and not doing like mail order and stuff like that, that's going to be limiting. But like if it's something where you're reaching people on the other side of the country and they can get coffee beans from this place, like you could be doing good for the place. I don't think that it's totally bad to think about it from a marketing perspective, but when it's not authentic and when it's pretty deceptive in terms of, people not sharing that things were paid. This way it kind of muddies their own content. Like I'm with you 100% on that. I think that's the type of thing where I don't really patronize those type of creators. That's why you and I vibe so well.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I wanted to ask you is I never even asked you this, but like you've been doing this a long time in the game. Like, what made you decide to start becoming a content creator and do what you do?
So that's a really awesome question. When I started, it was really for fun, and my blog is still up. You could actually sort the posts, chronologically from the start. At the beginning, it was a lot of random stuff. I'd post action figures, I'd post coffee videos. What I saw happen that when I started posting food stuff in the area at the time, there were a handful of food bloggers that were getting a lot of attention. There were local media platforms that were featuring these people. Like, the Times Union was kind of the biggest one. What I had to offer that these people didn't have to offer was industry experience in terms of my family owned a deli and I have aunts and uncles who own pizzerias where, I could go into a restaurant, in most cases and see what they're doing and kind of highlight some of the things that are special from an industry perspective, talk about it authentically. Whereas these other people were foodies who, were like one person was from San Diego and they had a lot of experience eating food. They had no knowledge of the background of it. So that kind of turned into the Times Union started picking up my stuff. And, pretty much it wasn't the first thing that I posted about, but the second restaurant that I posted about got picked up by the Times Union. And back then it was also a lot more interactive locally. There were a lot more, blog cross links and things like that where, Times Union saw that, and Steve Barnes, the food critic at the time, he's still there in the arts department. I think he still contributes to the food in the Times Union paper. He started seeing my stuff and he started sharing my stuff too. So that's where I saw, I think I have a lot of value to add here. So then it became weekly kind of blog reviews of restaurants. Around 2016, the time that my son was born, I got a little burnt out from it, and I also attended a few local events that kind of turned me off to the local food scene, and I kind of just put it to sleep for a little bit. And then in 2018, I decided, you know what, I need something creative to do, and video is kind of where this stuff is going. Nobody's reading blogs anymore. So I just decided to, learn how to make videos, and that's been kind of an evolving process. Around like 2021, I started posting other areas because that's when we started going back out into the world. Outer Banks content, food content. I've done Montreal stuff. It's kind of funny. About 10 years ago, if I would go to like a local restaurant, like a Hot Dog Charlie's or, like Gus's or something like that, I would probably get recognized half the time. Whereas like now when we go to the Outer Banks, which is once a year, sometimes twice, people down there recognize me for my YouTube stuff because I've designed that content in terms of like just value first, like, top 5 breakfast, top 5 lunch, top 5 dinner, just so that I could press a little more. But it's kind of fun to go down there. I go to a coffee shop and like people are talking to me there, like they know me, like because they've seen me on stuff. We have a guest book in the guest house that we say where people are like, the person recorded the video sitting right where I'm sitting right now. So it's kind of amazing that like it's translated into something a little bit more than Capital Region.
That's awesome. Like every once in a while when I go out to like a coffee shop or somewhere, people recognize me. Oh, you're the Daily Brew reviewer. You're over here. Like, are you going to be reviewing coffee today? It's fun. I like
Yep.
the interaction. I like to meet new people. And I don't mind, like, if you want to get a picture, if you want to chit chat or I'll buy you a cup of coffee, I'll do it. I don't care, I'm just here just to highlight, have a good time. And this is like a fun thing for me. I told my wife when I decided to do this last year, actually, 420 of last year was the 1 year. Well, the 420 of this year was the 1 year of the Daily Brew Reviewers page opening, and I didn't even realize it. I was gonna
That's
post a
crazy.
video.
I feel like I've been following you for longer than that.
Yeah, I was looking on Instagram and it says 420 was 1 year anniversary, and I started that page at 420. I'm like 420. It was like weird because like 420 came out this year, and I was gonna do a little like skit or something like that. I says I can't believe I started my page on 420, you know? And then I must have been smoking a lot of dope then for me to be starting something like that. It was just a thing that like me and my wife, we travel all around, especially like locally, and we go to like the local coffee shops and we love coffee so much. I told my wife, I was like, look, I said, I want to do a blog. I want to see how it goes. I love going to different coffee shops, highlighting them, showing people like these hidden gems. That's what I really wanted to do. And it was just so much fun doing that. And then my page started, doing very well. I wish it would do a lot more, but it is what it is. I got some good followers and people like me for what I do,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's another thing. It's like, do you want the videos to do better? Yeah, absolutely. Like reaching more people is obviously the goal, but it's always important to just take a step back and to just kind of be thankful for what you have. Just in terms of like the more exposure you get, the more the toxicity comes. It really is. So like if you're comfortable with the types of people that you're interacting with and who are finding your content, I would say that's kind of really the best place to be. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think 2021 was when I passed 1,000 subscribers. That's when I monetized my channel. And then since then, it's kind of been a 5-year kind of gap to the 10,000 subscriber mark, which we're going to hit right at the 16. It's going to be within a week, plus or minus, of like 16 years of launching the original blog back in June 2010. So that's kind of also interesting. 10,000 people is a lot of people. Like if you had that many people in one room, you'd shut down pretty quickly in terms of talking. That's why it's important. Just keep focus on the fact that like the people that are finding you are the people that you want to be finding.
Yeah. And then the thing is too is like I'll post something, people will like it, and then they'll follow me. And then next thing you know, they'll unfollow me like a week, 2 weeks later. Cause I don't do like that much content. I do all my content on the weekend. So I just post everything on the weekend and just get it out. Cause I'm busy during the week. I
Yep.
have a full-time job, working a lot of hours. I have my daughter to like raise, and then me doing like working out and like keeping up with my nutrition and my physique because, drinking coffee, I can put in some pounds. It's just trying to
Yep.
do that and do the content. It's a lot. And then doing the podcast is even more because it
Yep.
takes hours.
Yep, I know it all very well. I've been kind of working through some health stuff and finally have gotten on the other side of it now where, around 2021, what I started saying was I got to get more content out. And what that turned into is, okay, I'm going to start this chicken sandwich series where I go every week to a different place and try a chicken sandwich. I'll alternate fast food because chicken sandwiches were all the rage at that point. I'll do a fast food, I'll do a local, and then, there'll be shorter videos and I can produce them quickly. And this was on top of one recipe video a week and one regular restaurant video a week. So already now we're into, hundreds of dollars a week and all this food that I just can't let food go to waste. So I'm eating this food and, the next thing you know, you have a heart problem and diabetes and you're, navigating that. So what was important to me was to develop the systems to be able to do that. So like we talked about the silly snack reviews, those get filmed in the course of like 4 days, and we'll usually film probably between 20 and 30 different snacks. Now, and I limit it to 1 or 2 bites tops because, if you think about that, 30 junk food in 4 days, even if you're taking 1 bite of each, it's kind of a lot. And then I drop those twice a week. So that's like 15, 16 weeks of content, in just 4 days and minimal calories, having those systems is also important. Another thing is I started doing the videos where, making myself lunch. I have Meta glasses, so I'll record that. So that I could use both as shorts and also as long form. So I've been kind of using that content in both kind of platforms to be able to reach both types of audiences. And that essentially creates a system where I don't have to eat twice, That's kind of important to stay on top of your health because, yeah, a lot, especially now, like when I'm drinking here, I made myself a coffee before we got started because I figured we'd be talking a little bit more about coffee than content, even though I'm enjoying the conversation. But, like I'm drinking sugar-free caramel and white chocolate syrup in this. So like it's healthy, but I got heavy cream and milk in there. But, you go to these places, they're probably loaded with 60, 80 grams of sugar. So you can't be drinking that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was shocked that you actually went to Starbucks and got yourself one of those like that crazy drink water that you posted up. And I was like, I don't know how much sugar's in that, but if you substitute it for like sugar free, then you're pretty much good, you
So
know?
let's talk about that for a second because I was curious to know what I get in terms of coffee content. I wouldn't say I get a lot of coffee content creators. I think you're probably the purest coffee centric, niche person. Whereas everything that I'm getting, like what I get are these like moms on TikTok. Like one's a 420 mom and one is like a kind of an influencer type person, and they'll make these coffee drinks and it's like, okay, that the coffee part of this, it vibes with me really well. The other is like, okay, I'm a middle-aged guy. I don't need, this person trying on dresses and things like that. But that coffee order looks like something I would want to try. So that's where I saw that. But what are you seeing in terms of coffee content? Because you're going to be algorithm's going to be a little more focused on that.
Like, what am I seeing more towards, like all the coffee stuff that I've been like scrolling through, like in my feed and stuff like that?
Like, do you see creators that are doing kind of what you're doing, or are you seeing people doing more lifestyle stuff that incorporate coffee into the videos as well?
So the creators that I follow, they do a lot of like creative coffee drinks at home stuff. And then a lot of it too is gear. So a lot of like espresso machines and specific tampers and gear. So a lot of that content I see more often because it gives me a better idea on like what type of machine I want to buy, grinder, like specific things. And then two, specialty coffee. So a lot of like, this is like a specialty coffee right here. This is a Yoga Shaft Ethiopian coffee where you just drink this black and you taste all the flavor notes in the profile on the bean itself. And
Mm.
that's what I like about tasting like the fruitiness, the brightness of like the floral of the coffee. I don't see much of like coffee reviewers like I do when I go to coffee shops. I do both like home stuff and coffee reviews, but I
Yep.
like doing more of the home stuff because it's easier for me to just do everything in my coffee bar and make creative drinks or showing specific products and stuff like that. But like I started to see and do a lot of research, especially when I'm trying to pick what type of material or tools that I need to make the best content where I'm buying like a specialty espresso machine, grinder, and stuff like that. Because I've started looking at all the content, looking at reviews, seeing what is all like. I bought my first espresso machine. I bought a Casa Brew Ultra. It was great for a starter. It was cheap. A lot of content creators and all that was just promoting this as the best thing, makes good shots of espresso,
Now,
and
be careful what you say. That's the machine I have right now.
the you have the Casa Brew, right?
Yeah.
I love the machine. It just wasn't what I needed, what I'm focused on, what I want to do for content. It was
Yep.
a great machine. It pulled okay shots. I just could never steam properly. The one I want to do latte art, and that's the thing that I want to do, and I can never do it right with that machine. It's just like I don't know, but like I bought this Meraki. This is like an $1,800 machine, and
Yep.
it has the scale. It weighs everything. It does like the temperature. It does everything perfect. And I'm like, oh, this machine is awesome. So I did a lot of research and I was like, all right, I'm buying this machine. I sold my Casa Brew to somebody else on Facebook Market. And then I was like, all right, I need a bigger coffee bar. So then now I bought this whole big, huge set here, got rid of the old stuff. So my wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to get my studio set up where I can do better content, better viewing angles, and be able to do what I need to do. And just like certain content creators, they'll boost these products. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, let me see more into detail. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, they're doing it because they're getting paid for it. They have these codes and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not gonna go for that. So I was like, let me just go do my research. And I just did that from there. And but all the content that I see is more of like gear, latte art, specialty coffee, pour overs, recipe ratios, and then like home barista stuff. Very rare, like I will see a content creator posting like reviews or stuff like that, or special drinks to order in like Starbucks or Dunkin'. I don't do like the Starbucks or Dunkin' Donut videos. I just scroll them because I don't like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Same thing with like Seven Brew. I see those videos all the time, and I just scroll away from them because I just don't like those places. But what do you get in your
I
algorithm?
so that's what I said. My stuff is mostly like these lifestyle people who incorporate coffee into their videos. Like there's this one woman that I get all the time on TikTok where, she's a garden mom, like, doing like 420 stuff. But every morning she wakes up, she makes herself a coffee, and like just watching her technique in terms of what she's making and the things that she's adding into it, it's like, man, I got to have that coffee. But like, I don't get a whole lot of like reviewers and going to like Starbucks and Dunkin' or Seven Brew, but I do see a lot of people incorporating videos like that into their content. Now, I got to say, like, I've fallen out of grace with Starbucks over the last like 8 years, let's say. When I started dating my wife 15, 16 years ago, we were going to Starbucks daily, where it was like becoming a problem. Their menu was a lot better. They were taking a lot more care making the drinks, and they weren't trying to like rip you off. Whereas now it's really hard for me to find something I like on the menu there, especially that I try to stick to sugar-free drinks whenever possible. So lately I've been going a lot more to Seven Brew just because it's a lot easier. I have one right by my house. I live in Schenectady. They opened one a few months ago, and they have all the Torani syrups that you could also get sugar-free, which is great for me because, then I feel like I'm not drinking, thousands of calories worth of stuff. But yeah, in terms of content, I'm not seeing a whole lot of like reviewing this place or that place. Now, locally, what would be like your favorite place to get like like let's say the highest end coffee that you can get? What's your favorite place to get like a an espresso beverage?
I hate disclosing that because like it makes me feel bad because I have a lot of different coffee shops, and
Well,
if I
give me
say
like
it,
give me like a top three.
top three, okay, Jacob Alejandro's, he's the goat. He's the goat. He's got the best coffee out there. He knows specialty coffee, and he's got premium coffee. So that's like my like number one. For where I live in Clifton Park, it's boutique and coffee. I love doing the coffee flights. You get to sample all the different types of like creative drinks that they have on their menu, and it's really good. Get Full is another one. That was a really good one too. That's all the way in April Park. I have multiple ones that I typically go to in a regular. Like Arthur's Market is another one. I'll go over there because you're
We
by
love Arthur's.
Schenectady.
I go there a lot.
And then 518 Coffee Bar is another one right by there. So that's a good one. Graham's is another amazing one. Graham's Parlor. There's so many out there. Amp Coffee House
Yep.
in Albany. That's another good one. But then again, it's like for me personally, I would stick more towards the ones that I like to go to because they are more consistent because I go there regularly.
Mm.
So every time I go there, the drinks are always the same every time I order. There are some places where I just a hit and miss. So like I went to the new place Steeped right over in Hainers. I went there. It was all right. They just opened. I gave them a shot and I told them, all right, you need to do better on pulling a shot of espresso. You need to dial in. So he didn't know, like he didn't dial in properly. So I was like, let me try a shot of espresso, see what that tastes like. Man, it was sour, like
Mm.
sour. So he didn't dial in. So I got the drink, and then the drink was fine, but it just like whatever they intend to get, like the chocolate orange, I was getting more of the orange taste. It was overpowering than the chocolate. Very
Okay.
small hint of chocolate, and then you barely taste a little bit of the espresso. That was like the thing that I told. That's why I gave it like an 8 point. I can't remember. It was like 8 point something. I try not to like go low. Like 8 is like okay for me. 9 is like you're good. That's how I
I've
do my reading.
I've completely abandoned numerical ratings because people get a little bit too bogged down in that. Because then what'll happen is they'll pull up one thing and they'll be like, "Oh, you like this one because that they charge you less or whatever." And it just for me, giving more objective, not non-numerical, is really where I sit with that. What locally, where do you go to get? Do you buy beans locally, or do you get those mostly mail order?
I do buy locally around, but then now I've been buying a lot more of the mail order stuff. So I'm trying other different roasters because I tried all of the local roasters, especially around in the upstate area.
Okay.
So I'm focusing more on other roasters out there. Like Summer Moon is another one in Texas, which they do like an oak wood roasted processed coffee. So they roast it in oak wood, which is like crazy because you got like that smokiness taste to it,
Hmm.
but you still getting like the great like flavor of the coffee itself.
So almost like a New Orleans, like a chicory kind of thing,
Yeah. What's the terminology?
like
When you
smoker
smoke,
type thing.
yeah, like you're smoking meat. Yeah. So when you smoke meat, that's what it has, like that smokiness taste from like the wood or whatever, like a mesquite, or they use the oak wood. So you taste like that oak wood taste with on top of that, the coffee itself. And it's
Yeah.
just phenomenal. So that's like a good like roasted that I would periodically probably buy. Other ones that I'm looking into buying too is like I'm getting some stuff from Hawaii. So a friend of mine's going to Hawaii and he's
Yep.
bringing some beans over. So I love Hawaiian coffee. That's my favorite, like coffee. Kona coffee is hands down my favorite. I can drink that all
Awesome.
day. But I've been trying like other regions and stuff like that and specialty coffee, and that's what I like.
I ordered from Trade, but I didn't like set up an account or anything. So I'm hoping that I still have the email. There was a place down in Ulster County that I had ordered the beans from, and they were really, really like outstanding, like compared to anything I've gotten locally. So right now, what I've been drinking, I have a bag of beans that I got from the Outer Banks. There's a coffee shop that we like to go to down there where they had kind of like between a light and medium roast. I bought that right before Christmas. They're on their last leg in terms of life, but I bought them to design an eggnog latte when I was doing those back in December. And then the other thing I bought about a month or so ago at the Starbucks Reserve is the Knob Creek Bourbon Barrel Aged beans. Which the story behind that is, I went up to the counter and I saw $43, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could afford that. Whatever, that's fine. What I didn't know was while they were grinding it, it was 42.50 for a half pound. So this is $85 a pound beans I'm drinking. But it's absolutely phenomenal. I did that last night as a pour over, the first time I've ever done pour over, actually. And it spoiled me because it's so good.
Yeah, as soon as I got to the whole pour over thing, man, just like tasting like the coffee itself and like the fruitiness, the floral, the nuttiness, the chocolate, it's just like out of this world. And you're like, wow, you don't need to put no sweetener or nothing like that. You just drink it straight up, and it just got such great taste. And I told my wife she can't drink coffee like without milk or cream or anything, but I said I can drink that with just a pour over. An AeroPress. Yeah, I have a Drift Brew is another one that's just like an AeroPress, like a French press type of thing, and just
Hmm.
doing that, it's the best thing ever. You don't have a grinder yourself?
So I bought a hand grinder, which is one of the biggest mistakes I think I ever made, just because it works really well, but it's just a pain in the neck. I have a grinder, but it's kind of a low middle end burr grinder that is really not consistent in terms of particle size when it actually finishes. So it gives inconsistent shots. So I've been sticking to the hand grinder lately, or I'll get a bag ground already.
Yeah, yeah. There's one good grinder that I got. It's a Gemini. Uh, that grinder is phenomenal. It does single dose grinding, so you just throw it in there, and it's always consistent all the time. And I
Yeah.
just recently bought it, and I've been using it a lot lately. And it's just a small little compact grinder.
Mhm.
And it's about $200. You gotta wait when they have, like, the specials and stuff like that, where they just discount it on Amazon or something like that. I'm looking into going into the roasting part of it, so I'm buying a roaster, and I'm gonna become a micro roaster. So I'm learning all that stuff and getting the beans, and then hopefully use that as, like, my business just to sell, roasted beans out there and do that.
Wow.
That's
Cool.
that's the one thing that I wanna do since I got a lot more involved into understanding different, like, origins and regions of, like, the beans and, like, how to roast. Like, I've been doing a lot of reading and research, and hopefully I have, like, a local roaster I'm gonna be talking to, hopefully will be, like, a little mentor and help me out a little bit, you know?
So is your goal to go further with content, or to actually branch off into like the business side of the coffee business?
I wanna still continue with the content and still do the roasting and see how that goes. I'm always gonna do content, roasting. Today's the day of the day we're gonna be roasting coffee for this person, and do, like, that type of content.
Okay,
And then just doing, like, highlighting the local coffee shops, still doing that, and then doing, like, my home, like, brewing methods and stuff like that. So that's
cool.
the content I wanna continue to do.
Nice.
Roasting is just the roasting part of it is just to make extra money on the side to help me with the content part where I can travel and, pay more towards the local business. So my goal is I wanna help a local business out. So if I make a good enough decent amount of money, if a business is struggling, I wanna be the donor, like the donation towards helping them get them back on their feet if they're struggling or something going on, and then do a lot more stuff with that and do content like that, or buy
Okay, yeah,
people's drinks for the day. Hey, come over here. I'm paying for everybody's drinks for the day. If the bill is like $5,000, $6,000 here, I pay for everybody's drinks for the day,
cool.
just to do that type of content.
Nice.
So what is the next steps for you for your content? Like, what are your plans on your content?
It's a really good question. I'm struggling with that because when I sit down and look at my analytics on YouTube, it's pretty evident that my channel, like, whereas most people would classify it as a food channel, I think technically it should be classified as a travel channel, just because of the way the cyclic nature of like my impressions and views and even monetization. It just seems like, between certain seasons, it's, Outer Banks heavy. I have a California playlist that also gets a lot of views at certain times a year. And then I have like Canada stuff and New York City stuff. So like, as much as I'll always be kind of I'll have like a local focus. I think the long term is to do a little bit more of the travel type content. But what makes that difficult is, I work full time in an industry that really is not connected to the content at all. I'm kind of the bottleneck. I have stuff, probably over 30 projects worth of stuff that'll probably never see the light of day. And just getting to everything is just so difficult. So yeah, it's just a matter of, understanding, the people coming in and seeing the videos and kind of designing it around that. In terms of like, I don't have a 5-year plan or anything. It's just been kind of winging it here and there and just doing what works. And right now I'm enjoying doing stuff in the kitchen. I've slowed down a little bit on that because I've tried to save some money, because getting ingredients for sandwiches every week is getting expensive with groceries nowadays. So I got some stuff in the can that I'll release over the next few weeks and stuff. And then I'll make less stuff here and there. So I'm enjoying that. And I'm just trying to stick to what I like to do and not get burnt out. Because
Yeah.
I've been there with the burnout a few times, and it's not a good feeling. And I don't want to get to that point because it like I said at the beginning, what I do is really not that serious, and it's a hobby, so I don't really want to make it more than what it is.
I went down a little bit on my content because it's just too much. Like I went so hard in the beginning, like last year, just pushing content, trying to see if I can get, the views, the likes and all that other stuff. And then all the traveling that I did, especially going from like Long Island and on the city area, going all the way up to the Adirondacks, far out. And it was like the driving. And then I worked two jobs. Right now, I'm not working the second job yet because I haven't got called back to go back to work because they had us like out or something.
Hmm.
But I will work overnights 2 days, Fridays and Saturdays, doing security. My normal job, I'm a maintenance director at a nursing home. So I do that
Okay.
full time. And after I would be done doing my overnights, I'll be hitting 3, 4, 5 coffee shops in one day on a Saturday, just doing content and just posting. That burnt me out all last year. And I was like, this year, I'm just going to go do one coffee shop review a week. And then just I'll do a lot of home like gadgets and content, like recipes at home
Yeah.
type of stuff. I want to focus too on like gear. Like someone wants to start their own like home barista style at home, like their own coffee shop at home or something like that. Like here's some great alternatives that you guys can buy. This is what I bought and show like those things. And like you don't need to spend X amount of dollars just to get good quality cafe style stuff. You can get yourself a Casa Brew. Great starting point for an espresso machine. Use the basic tools. If you want to upgrade them a little bit more, get a distributor, get this, like that type of stuff I want to do, like gear, easy, cheap stuff that people can do. You don't have to buy all the expensive stuff and, do that cafe style at home. And it's cheaper to do it at home than going to a local coffee shop. But that's like my
It
whole
is,
goal.
but once you start getting into all the upgrades and gear, and the same thing goes for content. Like I got carried away, and even like you could say I got like special lighting, I got my camera and everything. You get carried away with like, okay, the quality has to be better. And what I'm finding right now is that the more authentic stuff lately with like the meta glasses or stuff with my phone is just getting just as much with less effort and all that. Obviously, like you get a low end coffee machine, you could start upgrading little things here and there, but it really comes down to, are you having fun doing it? That's kind of, don't take it as seriously as that. Like if you're going to get into espresso and you're not using, a bottomless basket and whatever, and you're going to be judged and stuff like that. Like at that point, it's not fun, do it to enjoy it and to have fun.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is I do it for fun. I like doing recipes because I feel like my recipes does very well on YouTube. Like I did like the dirty sodas for Saucy Sarasi with her syrups.
Yep.
Those did phenomenal on YouTube. But then all the other platforms didn't do that too well.
Yeah,
And
she
like
she she sent me a handful of her stuff, and I've been trying to incorporate it here and there. Some of them are so good, like at the banana bread one. Like I didn't think I was gonna like it, but it was so good.
yeah, it was. It was. And Vinci sent me a message. They said to me, "Hey, we want you to do banana bread and a maple, like a banana bread maple. That's their favorite drink." So I got their Da Vinci banana bread and maple syrups, and I just incorporated. I did the video today, so I'm going to be releasing that out later on. But yeah, I'm like, it's like engaging with these big like coffee corporations like Da Vinci for syrups. I would love to hopefully work with them and get like send me some syrups. I'll do recipes all day. I'll just be making content with that. Or like I'm trying to do one with the specific roaster that they have an influencer program, and that's the one that I want to do and I want to work with because that's the bean that I truly like, and I would like to incorporate more of their beans in my videos. Today we're
Cool.
using this specific brand. This is the brand that I typically use, and this is the brand that I love, and this is the one that I enjoy for my content. My drinks of my daily coffee.
Oh, cool.
You know, so that's what I want to do is like work with those like small brands, and then I don't care. You send me stuff for free, I'll do it. If I pay for it, I pay for it. That's just trying to get those more attention to them, and they're seeing my content, so that's like a good thing.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. It's just a lot though, a lot.
It is, and that's the thing is like, I call my niche food, but I try to touch as much as possible. But figuring out where to focus is always the hard part. Just like you said, you could start doing videos about roasting, but then that's going to take away your attention from the actual coffee drink recipes. Might take a emphasis away from the gear recipes. So it's like what is it that you want to do, and trying to find where that aligns with what people are vibing with is really, I think, the art in this whole content thing. And I don't think there's a right answer for it. I think it's going to ever evolve.
Yeah. And like for podcasts, like I've been doing a lot more of the podcast now, and I want to try to incorporate ads in my podcast. So like if a local business wants to put an ad on the podcast, I'll charge them a specific fee. So that's what
Mhm.
I'm trying to work with that, so that can help with the podcast, paying for equipment, paying for the stuff that I need to keep on, operating, because my operating right now is costing a lot of money. My operating cost is a lot, and I just can't afford to do this every time. So I need another alternative. So if a business wants me to put an ad on my podcast, I'll put it like in the beginning or in the middle or towards the end. However I want to do it, I'll create the script, I'll put it on the podcast, and I'll charge a small fee. I have
Mm.
somebody who was interested in doing it, and I says, "Look, I'm looking to charge about $150. I'll put your business in. This podcast is sponsored by such and such, and I'll do 2 or 3 of those on the podcast. Added in as a one-time price, and then that money will help me continue to do what I do with the content. And that's what I want to try to focus on, is with the external ads. And then if I get monetized, try to get more ads on top of that, and then do like a paid subscription. So if you don't want the ad stuff, I'll just do $1.99 for a subscription for the podcast for people that don't want to hear the ads and just want to hear the whole podcast.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think another advantage you could probably lean into is, having the setup kind of right behind you there. You could probably design the ads to be more like informational, where like, if you can get like a roaster to sponsor an episode, in the middle of the episode, you can use their thing for a specific drink for, whatever. And then you could even use that content as your shorts and in other ways. So there's a lot that you could do to kind of design it to, because I think a lot of people skip a lot of those ads, just to be completely frank. So I think, incorporating it in a way that integrates it into your show, um, will have a lot more value to not only you and your audience, but also the people advertising. I think that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, it's just another revenue source where it could just help with that, because monetization is not going to happen anytime soon, especially for me. It's hard, and trying to get the followership or the subscribers, it's going to take me a long time. So I think like
Yep.
the ad part of adding into my videos or adding their logo and like a short little skit, I need to sit down with you so I can understand the whole like long form content with YouTube and try to get more long form content. And maybe you could help me out on that stuff, and I would
Yeah,
love.
you know what? Let's sit down and have a coffee one day and do a little brainstorming. I'm open to that.
Yeah, because you've been doing it for a long time, and I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I could tell you what works for me, what doesn't work, but even feeling like anytime I feel like I know something about it, it's like, what, I'll do everything perfectly, and then it just doesn't hit, and it's like I don't get this at all. But yeah, like I think in terms of just like figuring out who your audience is and figuring out how to serve them, like I could definitely sit down with you and we could talk it out and see what the best places to focus would be for you.
Yeah, and then I see that you use the Meta glasses, right? The one thing that those Meta glasses, oh my god, if I see those videos, I just like scroll away, because it's just the motion gets me so messed up in the head, because it goes left to right. When you're moving your head, it's moving and it's just not stable, and it
My,
just gives me a
my,
freaking, it gives me
do,
like vertigo.
do you feel that way about mine?
Yes, I do feel that with yours. Same thing with the other guy, the Zach Sakai, his video content with his Meta glasses.
Okay.
I can't. It's just anybody who's using those Meta glasses, the head movement when you move to left to right, I feel like I'm gonna freaking like have a seizure, because it messes with my brain.
That's good info because, I also so I bought like a rig where I could actually wear a GoPro, and the GoPro has more stabilization and I could actually record horizontal in 4K, whereas the Meta Glasses has a little bit lower of a resolution. So I thought about actually switching to that, but I might test it out just hearing that feedback from you.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man. I was like, please stop using the Meta glasses. They're the worst content creation when you're moving your head a lot, because it's
Okay.
not stable and it's just all over the place. I don't understand how like people like I understand the reason being for those POV shots, but you're better off just getting an instant 360 because those are better for POV shots and is very stable.
Hmm.
Where I see the Meta Glasses ones and the Ray Bans, it's just like, man, I feel like I'm just gonna freaking like have a seizure or just like it just messes with my brain so much I just can't deal with it anymore. Yeah, like once you go into like a regular view, like if you're doing that in the beginning and then you go to a regular view, I can handle it. But when you're doing that through your whole entire video, it's just like, all right, time to scroll. Yeah, that's like the greatest feedback I can give you. It's just
Okay.
stop using them because it just
Yeah.
gives me.
Like I said, so I've spent thousands of dollars on gear, and I have GoPros that are just sitting around, and I've thought about actually using that rig even just to test it. So I think that's something I'm going to take some feedback. I'm going to take. I'm actually going to work on it.
Have you like seen like your video and like how it moves so much every time?
Yeah, so I try my best to stay as still as possible, but I do know that what you're talking about, like because it's my head. So like if I'm not just staying completely focused and staying still, even when you are staying still, you're really not staying still. So I get it. I think a lot of it also has to do with that I intentionally cut a lot. So like you'll see like actual jumps and I don't like filling in the edits. Like if I had it on my desktop, I'll usually fill in the cuts with B-roll so that it's not as jarring to go from one cut to the next. So like I think what you're talking about is not only the motion within a clip, but also the motion between clips from editing. So it's really good feedback to hear. It's not something that I've completely like that I'm oblivious to, but hearing it firsthand is definitely something that makes me know that I have to work on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's I spend a lot of money on gear, and I think I'm done with the gear aspect of it. So like, I got a Canon camera, a DJI, and then I got an Instant 360, and then I got my actual like my cell phone. So I jump around between all of them. So I'm
Yeah.
like constantly like, all right, I'm gonna use this one, I'm gonna use that one, use this one this day, depending on what I feel that day. So I
Yep.
have like multiple options and stuff like that. And then headphones is just another thing too. Like microphones. I got a DJI microphone. I got so many different microphones. It's just like,
Yep. I got them all myself.
yeah, it's just a lot of money spent. And I'm going to Puerto Rico in 2 weeks from now. So I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
be doing some content out there with some coffee shops over there and probably bring some beans back from Puerto Rico.
Are you going to San Juan?
Yeah, I'm going to San Juan, but I'm going to
Any?
be driving all around the island.
Oh yeah. Which parts?
So I'm going to go to Aguadillas, where my dad is from, because my uncle
Okay.
lives out there. So my
Okay.
dad's coming with me, my brother's coming with me.
I
And
spent
then,
a lot of time in Aguadilla.
yeah.
My ex-wife has a whole so when we used to go down there, her family has an entire like sector. It's only her family who lives there. So yeah, when we would go to Crash Boat and all the other beaches around there. So definitely really familiar with that west side of the island.
Yeah, I'm traveling all around the island. So my stepbrother, I'm going to his mom's house. I'm staying over there. She when she lived over here in New York, she used to make this coffee for me the old school way. Like it was like a filter, like a little basket, and she'll throw the grounds, and then she'll like I don't know how she does it, but she just makes this old school coffee that is just so amazing. So I'm gonna record her doing that as like a thing, and she's gonna be all crazy because she's like, "Oh my god, you making me famous."
Is it like the drink where they'll whip in the sugar and milk?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. My father-in-law used to make that. It was really good.
I don't know, like, how she does it, but she, like, steams the milk and does, like it just tastes so good, and I'm like, "I miss that coffee so much." That's the only person that if I'm getting coffee, I say, "You're gonna make me coffee that day." And then
Well,
there's,
have a good time.
yeah, there's a roaster over there too that I'm looking into that grows coffee in Puerto Rico. So that's something that I really want to see, like the whole plantation of like the coffee, like trees and then the roasting and stuff like that. So hopefully if I can get to that area, get the coffee and bring that over and get some video content, that's the next step for me. I'm out there and then a bunch of different local coffee shops, bakeries and food. I'll do a couple of food reviews over there too and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
There's a place in Isla Verde that's called Casalta. It's Kasalta. It's like when you walk in, like you're not even going to know what to focus on because it's a pastry shop. It's got like food. It's got sandwiches. It's got like a takeaway stuff. And their famous thing there is they actually have engraved the seat where Barack Obama came and sat when he went there. So definitely check that place out if you have a chance to. It's like right in San Juan, Isla Verde.
Yeah, it's funny because my brothers just said that we were gonna go over there. 'Cause that's where he gets the bread from.
Casalta?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. That's funny. Yeah, yeah. They have a
Yeah.
bakery there too.
Yeah, he says,
Amazing.
"Oh, we're gonna go to that bakery. We're gonna get the bread. We're gonna make like an egg sandwich and all that other stuff." Oh
Sweet.
my god.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
so
forward to seeing your content on that.
I can't wait.
The first time I ever had a cortado, which actually is my favorite coffee drink. Like if I'm going to go to a coffee shop and order a drink, like I'm not going to order a cappuccino. I'm not going to order a latte. Like unless it's something where like they're known for like over the top stuff like that. If I go to a coffee shop, like, and it's a strict coffee shop, I'm going to order a cortado just because that I think is a really good drink to judge not only the espresso, but also the technique. So the first time I ever had a cortado was in Puerto Rico and I instantly fell in love with it.
I love cortados. I've been trying a lot, like a piccolo, a ristretto, a cortado, and a flat white. I like trying those. It's phenomenal. I've been making a lot of flat whites lately too, just doing that and
Yep.
drinking that.
As John Cena's favorite beverage.
I was gonna ask you that question. What's your favorite go-to drink? Like what is your drink that you make in the morning anyways? Like what's the kind of coffee drink that you normally make at home daily?
So this is a fun question. Daily, because I work, I go really easy. Ever since like probably the last like 14 years, I've had the same cold brew every day. Trader Joe's medium roast, and I do it room temperature for 24 hours. And each batch, I bought this Takea. It's got a filter basket in the middle. I have a special technique with the way I do it. I've had that thing. I've used it every day for the last 13, 14 years. I have that with, I have liquid stevia that I put in it. And lately I've been using, it's coconut cream coffee creamer. I love coconut and coffee also. I'll sometimes do half and half, or even if I'm trying to cut calories, I'll do almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. So that's my everyday coffee. On the weekends, though, I'll make myself more of like a iced latte kind of thing, where I'll whip together some half and half or some milk or cream, and then I'll pour over a shot. And like lately, the kick has been the sweet and salty, which is kind of designed off of the Seven Brew drink, where they have white chocolate syrup, caramel, and I actually use sea salt in there. That's kind of what I've been drinking lately. But I go through seasons. I almost never drink hot coffee, although like doing the pour over last night, I think I may be converting myself a little bit on that. But what I make at home is mostly cold brew and espresso stuff.
Yeah, once you start getting to the specialty coffee stuff and like doing like pour overs and you're starting to get more better at it and you start to understand like the flavor notes of the coffee, especially when you're getting like that specialty coffee stuff, you're gonna be like amazed and you'll be like, wow, this is why they never did this before.
Yep.
Because it's totally different. Totally
I,
different.
the problem is I was telling my wife about this yesterday because we were having a discussion where I was actually at Target and I found a new hand soap that I really liked the scent of, but I didn't buy it because it came in a bottle that it just seemed like a brand that just was not going to be around much longer. So I didn't want to get myself accustomed to this really, really amazing smelling soap and then not be able to find it. And the same thing goes for like even stuff as simple as coffee, like that Starbucks Reserve stuff. I've been hanging on to those beans, even though they die over time, they degrade over time. But I'm just trying to stretch it out as much as possible because I know I'm not spending $85 a pound on coffee anytime soon. So I just I try to find what I like, and I try to stick to that routine as much as possible. But yeah, I love trying new stuff, and that's why I love that we have so many different types of things popping up in the area. There's always something new to try.
What you do with those beans, you vacuum seal them, throw them in the freezer. They'll last longer. Pull them
Yep.
out, break them down into. Oh yeah, you got it already pre-ground it. If you had them in
No,
beans,
it's not pre-ground. They're done as beans. But I only had bought a half pound, and I think I have probably less than 60 grams of it left. So it's not like it's going to be around much longer. But yeah, no, definitely. I'm a chemist also, so like I know the value of keep getting the air out of there and throwing it in the freezer just to slow that down. Definitely.
I did that with one of the specialty coffees because I knew I wasn't going to be drinking it that much. So I just made them into small little doses, vacuum seal them, throw them in the freezer, and then I just pull them out when I'm ready to like use them. And then I finally actually went through that bag and yeah, coconut is actually my favorite too. What creamer are you using for like the
It
coconut?
it's the standard. What I don't even know the brand. Is it Coffee Mate that they make? It's
Coffee
called
mate?
coconut cream. They're not sponsoring this episode.
No, we need a lot of coffee like sponsors, We need like Coffee Mate or International Delight or Chobani. We need all of them to start sponsoring.
Get Nescafe to sponsor you.
Nescafe. Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of those lately. So I think I've moved on from getting espresso videos on TikTok, and now what I'm getting are videos of people whipping up instant coffee, kind of like the Dalgona coffee that made it big about 6 years ago, but they're making like lattes with it. I almost bought a jar of that instant coffee myself, but I'm like, you know what? I got so much coffee to use at home. I'm not going to use this instant stuff.
Yeah, I've seen those videos where they whip it up and it makes it like a cream layer, and then they put the milk. Oh my
Yep.
God. I seen that too. And I was like, I need to try that out. But I'm trying to go through these beans first
Yep.
before I can even start doing that,
Same thing.
At one point I had like 5 or 6 bags of coffee, and then I've been bringing it to work and telling everybody, try it out, where people can follow you on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yeah. So you could find me on Instagram, DerryX, DerryX, or on YouTube, DerryX Dines, or you could search up my name, Jerry Papandrea. I'm pretty much everywhere, and if you follow, send me a direct message, comment on the videos. I love interacting with people, and that's kind of the reason why I like doing this. So
Yeah. So definitely follow Jerry and his journey. He's got amazing content. And I love his silly snack reviews and getting his son involved and engaged. Follow him and have a good time. Watch his videos. He's got awesome videos, great content, and he's the local staple in the upstate New York area.
I ain't going nowhere. Thanks a lot for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
No problem. Too bad we didn't talk too much about coffee, but we got all mixed and everything.
We got enough in there. I brought you back in on that.
Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Jerry. Don't forget to follow Jerry on Instagram and on YouTube at DerryX for more of his engaging content. If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Until next time, keep exploring and stay inspired.